you're finished.
I think there's one big area that I haven't talked about right now, bro, is that mashaAllah, tabarakAllah, you've shown real leadership, bro, with atheism, and I think this is so important because we were going through a place where a lot of people, like going to university, having to deal with Islam on this level, not understanding Islam properly, and this thing that you've done with atheism is really truly inspiring, bro. It's one that it makes me feel so happy to have you in our ummah, alhamdulillah. Like, imagine if you were on the other side, bro. May Allah protect us, right?
Yeah, I mean.
So, I think that this real thing was huge leadership. So just tell me a little bit about what drove that.
To be very honest, bro, look, let's be very honest. And I wrote this in the preface to the book, that a lot of it was trial and error in the beginning. Because in the beginning, I was just basically emulating and almost plagiarizing and copying Christian philosophers, right? Because, I was so passionate about Islam. I was so passionate about spreading what I believe to be true, that the next best thing that I had, we didn't have anything in Islamic literature. I was like, well, this is a Christian. He believes in God as well. He's doing great work. So I would emulate him a lot. And then that's the first stage of actually trying to discover yourself and your own positions by emulating other people sometimes, right? And I did a lot of mistakes in that. Some theological mistakes, absolutely. And maybe I spoke about things I didn't have correct sound knowledge on, right? Yeah. You may say there's excuses. There wasn't much people around me. You didn't have scholars or books in the English language. But look, it's not like all of a sudden I'm a great leader in atheism. No, it was like trial and error, did a lot of mistakes. But there was a period where I started to realize, look, we need to be more true to the tradition. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to write the book as well, because I felt there was nothing in the English language that was in depth enough to actually solve a crisis that we had in the English speaking audience. So maybe if anything was leadership was basically writing the book. But the funny thing is, I didn't even think of writing the book. It was Tarath Publishing came up to me and they wanted to create a sub-publishing for like a sister publishing group for students or something, and they asked me to write the book. It was actually originally done because someone asked me to do it, even though I probably didn't have the right knowledge. And it's so true that one person said the greatest book that you would engage with or write, or the greatest book that you would engage with or read is your own book, because I learned a lot just writing the book. It was a 3-year journey for me. So to cut a long story short, we had the objectives were not aligned because they wanted it to be very excessively academic, I think. I wanted it to be for the first or second year university student. So they said, keep on doing it, but do it for someone else kind of thing, from what I remember. And then after I found a publisher and I did the book. So I think, if anything, the good thing that I did was probably write the book. But that was as a result of my negative experiences from refining the arguments, trial and error. I had debates with many academics, some of the greatest academics in the world, like Professor Simon Blackburn from Cambridge. Obviously, you had Lawrence Krauss, but you know what I mean. So we had all these debates, and a lot of these debates I made mistakes too, but you learn. So I think for me, it wasn't an easy road, bro. It's not as if, oh, look at this guy, he's really bright. I just finished postgraduate in philosophy relatively recently. It's not as if I already had it, right? So where did you find the courage, bro? Because you were going against like scientism and Darwinism and all these things which are like seen as certain truths, and then here's this Muslim guy who's standing up and starting to talk about these things. Where do you get the courage for something like that when you don't actually have a degree in this stuff and you don't really know it so deeply? Where does the courage come to do that? Oh, I don't know. Is it courage? Is it ego? I don't know, bro. Maybe it's a bit of both. But may Allah protect us.
But I mean, in the sense that you got slated a lot of times online by all these, because they have a whole load of.
But alhamdulillah, bro, look, I think the good thing is now is that the good thing that my father tried to give me, and he even mentioned this as well, was try to be self-aware and have conscientiousness. So I had a lot of experiences. Some of them were negative, and hopefully I was conscious enough to analyze them and improve. And the book is a result of that, and the training courses were a result of that. And hopefully we've tried to shape a narrative and help others. So there are future stars in the ummah now. Look at Sabur, man. Sabur Ahmed. Like, I could never imagine, right? Him being able to basically articulate himself this way, especially in the philosophy of science, with regards to evolution. But this is what it's about. It's not about you anymore. And I remember in 2015, Sabur, I told him to come with me to Lebanon. Yeah, it was almost like a holiday. I was the head of education at that time, I believe. And I was like, right, read this old article I've written on evolution, right? I tried to take leadership. It's not even a really great article. The concepts are really good, but generally speaking, it's nothing like, oh yeah, this is great, yeah? But the concepts are quite profound. I said, read it. So he read it. He was like, okay, this is good. And then he bought some books. Then he started researching. Then he putting things together. Then he started developing. Then he went back to uni. Then he created a group of academics around him to empower him. Then he moved forward. Then he started having debates. And look at him now, within what, 4 years? 4 years, probably one of the only reference points, one out of five reference points that we have in the Ummah at the moment in terms of academics and leaders dealing with this particular topic, you know? So this is the people that you want to facilitate. And and even though the thing that you probably did wasn't that great, it was, you know, wasn't perfect, but it's something that helped inspire someone, and that's the art of leadership. And the art of leadership as well is people learning from your own mistakes as well. That you don't let people reinvent, you know, the mistakes. And that's why, you know, it's very important to, I don't know, I think I'm waffling now, but the point is, bro, I don't think it's all that glamorous that, you know, hey, I was the guy and dealing with atheism.
But did
there was a lot of mistakes,
Did you not feel like ever just like giving it up? Did it never get too much
Oh,
for you?
of course it did. Absolutely.
So how come you're still here?
Well, ultimately, everything is because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's for sure. If it wasn't without him, we wouldn't be anywhere or do anything or be able to say anything. So it's all as a result of the will of Allah. And, you know, there's a Cypriot Greek saying, right? You have skulugui. Skulugui is a worm. There's a little worm that eats in you, right? You got to do this stuff, right? And you have a passion, bro. You know, the existential philosophers would say if you're not passionate, then you can't really live a good life. And passion doesn't mean expressing passion, but at least you have that internal fire, that internal passion. So, and for me, it fundamentally boils down to meaning. I remember when I was a kid, bro, I wrote this in my preface as well in the book. I was like, I think I was 11 or 12. I had this existential crisis. Like, I realized I was really lonely. Like, literally. Like, it really bothered me that I wasn't conscious about other people's conscious experiences, the people that I loved. Like, I might engage with them for a while, like, say at school or at home. But the minute I go into the bath, and I would just sit in the bath, I realized I'm not aware of their conscious reality at the moment. And that made me even question whether not they were real or not. I know this is a form of solipsism, but the point I'm trying to say is it was a really, really lonely experience. To the point I would cry. I would literally cry. I would feel extremely lonely, right? And I think the only way I dealt with that is by, from what I remember, is just searching for things that were meaningful. Because when things are meaningful, they're more real. And I think that was one of the driving forces for me to find the truth about reality. Because when something is true, it's meaningful by definition. And that's what helped me search for Islam, the truth, because it was meaningful. Not only, it wasn't meaningful in some kind of, I'm going to make up meaning for myself, but rather it was true and meaningful. And that for me was really, really profound. And so that shaped me a lot. That kind of that was an experience that shaped me a hell of a lot. So, and I think that basically drove me to search meaning in things.